My name is Vatsal. I lead a team called Solutions Engineering at Facebook. And I'm going to talk a little bit about building global teams with an inclusive mindset. So, as I lead this global solutions engineering team, I have been able to hire about 90 people at Facebook and built many frameworks of how to hire the best talent possible, how to find the best talent in the market, and so on. And the way I have built the team and the way Facebook does things are pretty interesting, and I hope I can share a few things with you here. So first thing is about thought diversity. Uh, Having a diverse thought within your team helps make everything better. So for example, whenever you're thinking about a new project or a new problem that you're trying to solve, and so on, having a diverse slate of opinions is very, very helpful. It helps with decision making as well as execution. And at a global scale, it helps solve many challenges. So for example, while I was taking the Uber ride up here, the driver was a founder and CEO of an app, and he started chatting with me about my talk. And he said, when you have very diverse opinions, it also makes things move slower. And that is true to some extent, right? When a lot of people don't agree with something, it's very hard to move forward. I'm going to share a little bit about how we have solved that challenge as well. Helping solve challenges at a global scale is very interesting. As we think about the world today, many of the companies that presented here and many of the companies at the show recruiting, they're all global companies. And how do we build teams and how do we build products that solve challenges at a global scale? So let's take an example of an e-commerce company. An e-commerce company in Australia will have a very different set of challenges than an e-commerce company in Brazil and an e-commerce company in Canada. And having a team that has robust opinions, that are diverse and are contributing all to solving a global challenge is very important. And when you think about a global team, so I have a team that is based in many offices around the world. So Japan, Korea, Australia, Israel, London, and so on. And when you're building a global team, diversity is a must. It's almost impossible to hire a team that is not diverse. And so when we think about solutions engineering at Facebook, we are part of a global business organization. We work with all advertisers around the world. And I ask my team to code 50% of the time. So there is a 50% coding requirement. And the reason I ask my team to code is to make sure that when we meet with the customer and we learn about the challenges that the customer has, we solve them through code. And the last line is something that we idealize on our team. A piece of code helps all global customers, while a great meeting only helps a single customer. Facebook does inclusion in a very interesting way, and I'm really proud to be working at Facebook and contributed to the strategy here. At Facebook, all managers are required to take implicit bias training. I saw the tech inclusion organization also runs many of these trainings. The implicit bias training is very, very important to help us make great hiring decisions and overcome our implicit biases. There is also a strength-based management philosophy and a flat hierarchical structure. It's very important to look through the stereotypes and the other implicit biases people may have, and to help people focus on their strengths rather than fixing things where they might be weak at or they may not be interested on. And so Facebook has this philosophy of strength-based management that has been very, very helpful in building strong and diverse teams around the world. And then, as I mentioned, hiring managers get a lot of training at Facebook to make sure that we are not only building diverse teams, but also nurturing the thought diversity and the value that building a diverse team brings. And just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience on building teams. So we have a pretty good sized team in Asia Pacific. As I mentioned, I have people in Japan, in Korea, in Australia, Singapore. And what we noticed as we are building this team is a lot of people would drop off the interview process after the first phone screen. And this was very typical. Like we saw that in general, one underrepresented category, people would drop off the interview process. And we started thinking about how do we do it better and why this might be happening. So we learned that after the first interview, people get a little intimidated about the whole process and decide to withdraw their application. And so what we did is our recruiter then started to have a separate phone call with the candidates who passed the first phone screen to walk them through the interview process and to help them build their confidence so they would go through the entire interview process. When we are thinking about inclusive hiring practices, this is very important as different people behave differently through the hiring processes all around the world, and it's very important to think through these challenges and making sure that we are looking at the talent in the right way. And then last, I have some tips for the candidates who are applying for jobs here, as well as some hiring managers or people who are trying to move further in their career. As a diversity candidate myself, I will say that we hold ourselves back. We try to only stick our neck out when we are 100% confident, when we think that this is something that we are absolutely sure of. This is something that a lot of people that I mentor also suffer from. And so this is one advice for everybody, is we hold ourselves back. So there is nothing wrong in sticking your neck out and trying to achieve something more than what you think is possible. The next is there are no shortcuts. You need to have a strong foundation, and we all need to work hard. That is something that I have learned in practice, and I have advised many people. A strong foundation is extremely important to build your career on top of. The third thing I felt myself as I grew in my career, claim credit for your work. We many times do great things, but we are shy and taking credit for our work. Nobody is going to give you credit for your work. You have to take credit yourself. And then the last thing is, don't always be the person who takes one for the team. This is something, as I mentor many people from inclusive backgrounds, I see that they will have volunteered for a project or raised their hand for something that they know nobody cares about, but it was important, and they took it anyway. That is a real opportunity cost of getting stuck in the wrong things. There is a saying in Silicon Valley that I've heard a few times. That is, in Silicon Valley, you are defined by what you avoid. And my advice to all of you guys as you are building your careers and growing in your careers is, once in a while, taking one for the team is good, but don't always be the person who takes one for the team. With that, this was my last slide, so I'm going to end the session here. We have a happy hour later in the day sponsored by Facebook, and we have a recruiting team as well as people from our team to talk about different things we do at Facebook to build an inclusive and diverse culture. Happy to hear any thoughts or any questions anybody may have after the presentation. And just to let everybody know, so solutions engineering is one of the team at Facebook that is client-facing, but also very technical, hands-on. We have similar teams called partner engineering, and then, of course, software engineering at Facebook. All of these teams are very technical, as well as have very diverse backgrounds and culture. And we are very much inclusive company that would love to have many of you apply and have on our teams. Thank you.